question will be, what did you miss most in 2020 about something that you did in the past or something that you enjoyed doing that you didn't get to do anymore? And also, what did you miss about not being physically in school? So I can start that off. I wasn't physically in school in 2019, so I enjoyed being in school. That was great. But the thing I missed the most was the ability to travel freely. I happened to go to Cabo right before the pandemic shut everything down, and that was a blessing. That was my first time out of the country. And I travel a lot, inside the United States, but having that taken away from me, and I knew I should stay home, I should follow the directions, so I did. But I did miss just being able to get in my car and just go somewhere.
Makes sense.
The structure of having like a teacher there, telling you like, hey, this is do this, and that's something that got revealed about myself. I chronically procrastinate, and where I know I want to be, and where I know I want to go, that's not a trait that I can have and be successful and not like frantic all the time. So structure and connection with people and teachers, and because I think you just build rapport better in person, looking in somebody's eye. And yeah. Oh, and building my club. I was really excited about that, so I didn't get to do that.
Were you able to do that virtually at all?
The interest wasn't there
Okay.
from other students.
Okay.
What kind of things did you miss from not being able to go to school? Destiny?
It would have been me and my sister's first and last year in high school together. And I think we would have had a lot of fun if we were working together in school.
And Tiara, what did you miss about school?
Not getting to go to high school at all. Because everyone says high school experience was the best and probably the worst as well. And I didn't get that at all.
Do either of you play an instrument? Was that one of the things that you missed about school? Destiny?
Yes. I played flute, and I miss going to all the things that we did do as a band.
Tiara, did you play an instrument?
Not my last year, so I wouldn't do it in high school.
What were some of the things you did in school?
I went and did many clubs and after-school activities, and also did major classes, along with about to learn a language that I was learning in school.
I don't know, it's just nothing that compares to being in person, hearing a lecture in person, or having the discussion in person. The other thing is just that I'm an introvert too. I get most of my energy from being alone, so I can't say I was too upset, at least initially, with having to social distance and come home from UVA. But at the same time, when I like to have discussions with my friends and things like that, I think they're much better in person. Looking at a screen is very exhausting, and like it drains you. So we were still able to find ways to have, whether it's like for certain clubs or just friends getting together, we were able to figure out ways to do it over Zoom. But like I said, looking at a screen is not healthy for you either. Looking at that blue light for a long time. So I would just say, interacting with people in person, just in terms of interacting with people in person for your classes and for social events, is something that hopefully we'll be able to do again next fall, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Dion, you want to share your thoughts?
Sure. I think for me, although I am also an introvert myself, I think I build my best connections in person. Especially living in Virginia, you can go to a coffee shop and meet your best friend. And, I think for me, it was very hard to kind of adjust to making new friends or just building connections, especially I just started as a federal government employee in the midst of a pandemic, so I didn't know who my supervisors were, I didn't know who my coworkers were, so there wasn't a lot of consistency in learning or training or anything like that. So it was a hard process, but I do miss the actual interaction, being able to hug people, being able to shake someone's hand when you first meet them. Those are things that you never really think about losing until you actually do. So.
I think with me, as I already said, I am an introvert. So, like Denzel said, this isn't bad for me. However, once I got to college, I think I started coming out of my shell, and especially last year, freshman year was really hard, but my sophomore year, I joined a lot more clubs and I talked a lot more. So for it to just kind of end kind of made me sad because I feel like I'm losing the social skills I did gain. And also, because everything's pretty much virtual and you can't really have those interactions, I feel like I've been on my phone a lot more, which is something I'm not proud of. So recently I've been just deleting social media for a week and taking a break, hopefully to go back to my old ways and not rely on my phone as much.
Makes sense. What about you?
I think that there's an emotional aspect that comes with, bless you, that comes with having gatherings in person. I think like sharing, like celebrating and sharing moments with people, there's some like emotional drive that comes with doing that in person. And so for me, I think that having to do things and like have like I guess like important moments, like kind of like more like by myself, more isolated, has made me like, it's taken like, because there's not as much emotion I feel like in that. So I feel like one thing that it's made me like a little bit more like calm and like just like more zen, I guess one could say, because I feel like, you know, navigating things like by yourself is a lot different. But I think that also like too much of that probably like isn't the best. So just always like finding ways to communicate with my friends and family is something that's like really, really important, especially for me, because like, I don't know, like Trinity, you said like you're a talker, like I love to talk too. So I guess like not having as many people to talk to has definitely like made me think a lot about like who I am and like what I like to do and just like things like that. But I also think like one thing that I really miss in particular is sports. And just like any like in-person like club or anything. I mean, I'm in college, I'm not an athlete, but I planned on playing club volleyball until the pandemic happened. So I just feel like there's so many things I reminisce about, like whether like being like on the court or on the field or like in the stand, like that was just something that like made like so many people around me and myself just so happy. And so having that taken away is definitely something that's been hard for me.
So I have one last question for you all. If you had one thing you could share about our discussion that we had tonight, what would that be? It could be either the Black Lives Matter side or the COVID side, but what is your one takeaway from tonight that you feel like everybody needs to hear you say? All right, so we'll start over here with Trinity.
My immediate thought was that we have changed building in this very room. The fact that we have 6 young Black people who are willing to share our thoughts, our opinions, and not even just that. I know that each of us were actually willing to go out and ignite change. I think that's huge. I think that's something that people need to know that we don't just say things. We know that actions, matter a lot. What am I trying to say? Actions speak louder than words. Yes. Oh man, actions do speak louder than words. So the fact that you have 6 willing participants in not just the Black Lives Matter movement, but social change is huge. Like I said earlier, there is a discrepancy when it comes to healthcare racially, but also in the school to prison pipeline. That is an issue that is not discussed often. The fact that just we're young and willing, just means a lot to me. So thank you all for being willing to share.
Anybody else?
I don't really get a chance a lot to have these type of conversations with people. My mom is she's really good. That's how I really learned to talk, because she talks a certain way. So I pick up on that. But other than that, I don't really have anyone my age or around me to have these conversations with and get that stimulation to make me think about things. Because school does not make me happy, and it never really has. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's just something I know that I have to do to get into a position where I can do the things that I want to do. So, yeah, hopefully.
Great.
For school, it's a short-term investment. It's going to take a lot out of you. Hopefully in college you'll get better. So keep it up. But like Trinity was saying, I mean, there's a lot of potential in this room. There's also a lot of potential outside of this room. There's people who aren't here who I believe that we could all work with. And something I've tried to figure out is really hard to do is just organizing in rural areas and being consistent. There's a guy here who likes to call this place the promised land, and it's not for the reason you think. It's because a lot of people make promises or they'll initiate something and not follow up on it. So I think that I would definitely like to. Someone was asking me the other day, like, how can I make change on a local level? Like, it's easy to say things like, oh, get involved locally or do this or do that, but what does that really look like? I would hope that, and I think we can figure out some way to be consistent with not only having these conversations, but turn it into some tangible action, whether it's, whether it's political or simply having a group for people to be able to come and share in a space where they can share, whether on a monthly or weekly basis, something that can kind of turn what we talked about here today into something that is seen and makes the change that we want to see. So I'm going to spend some time trying to figure that out, because I think that there's so many great ideas here. There's a lot of talented people here. You just need to have the organization in order to cultivate it. So that's what I hope to do after this conversation. That's what I got from this conversation. And thank you for the things that Library and Trinity for letting me know, and everyone for coming.
I don't think there's enough aggression. Be aggressive with the things that you want to do. Like, I've talked to teachers and they'll be all for it 1 second, but then it's like, I don't know where the energy goes. Or there are clubs that we could be taking to international, national levels, or things we could just be doing on a bigger scale that we're not, simply because no one wants to take the time to organize and really take life by the horns and be assertive in being and existing and being involved in that.
Dion, what about you?
I think it's very inspiring, and I also want to thank you for the opportunity. Like it's already been said, as African Americans, we wouldn't have even had this opportunity. Our ancestors didn't even have the opportunity to read books. I mean, they literally had to speak and to read and to educate themselves. So for the public library to open this opportunity to African Americans, it's very inspirational. And to be able to sit around and discuss it for the public to view is very inspiring for me, especially in Northumberland County. Growing up, representation I think there's a lot of potential in this for their future doctors, future lawyers, and so many other things that the public needs to see because there's more potential even outside of this room in Northumberland County.
I think it's really important to just be passionate and be open-minded. Going off of what you said earlier about kids getting bullied, that's something that is really important to me, and it makes me really, really sad. I don't think any kid should have to go through that, and I think it starts when you're young. It's okay to be passionate about the things that you love. Everyone should have a passion, and it's definitely not okay to make fun of someone for having a passion. And hopefully kids will be watching this with their families. So if you do have a passion, don't let people bring you down about it. Continue with it, because I promise once you're out of the small town and you go do big things, you won't regret it at all.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank you and Trinity for the invite. I'm really glad that I got to participate in this. And I guess one of my major takeaways from this is that change definitely starts at home. So as a college student, when I think about like on a daily basis, like the change that I want to make, it's through like groups and that I'm in at school. And so I'm constantly thinking about, ways that I can have an impact there, but that's in Greensboro, North Carolina. In high school, it was kind of the same because I went to Christ Church in Middlesex. So a lot of the change that I wanted to infiltrate in the people around me, that was like a couple counties over. So I think that this is definitely gonna start like a lot of like thinking for myself about like ways that I can make change right around here. And I also like that this has been an opportunity for me to meet other young like African American people like in my county because of like the high school that I went to. Up until my senior year, me and my brother were the only black students that were day students who like lived in like within the state of Virginia. So this has definitely been like a great opportunity for me to meet people. So.
Great. Well, thank you all very, very much. I'm going to just swing right around here and take your pictures one more time.
Okay, thank you so much for your interview, and we'll see you all at the library the next time.